Hey, hello there, everypony. This is Nightlife here, and I hope you're ready for some social ineptitude and mincing of words, because this is Project Horizons Chapter 21, the fourth and final part. This was a damn long chapter, and, well, I really hope I can get this done. And if I don't get it done today, I will do this in one whole part. Maybe not all at once, but you know what I mean. So, this is Nightlife. This thing is by Somber. Fuck, man, you're giving me a hemorrhoid. Quit being so awesome. Okay, let's start this, okay? Oh boy, somebody put this poor bastard out of his misery. The buck I was in lay on his. Wait, try to realize it's a female that's inside them. Ooh, Peggy. No. I got a double erection! No. The buck I was in lay on his side, and from the pain and lethargy in his body, he couldn't be long for this world. His insides bubbled with every breath, and he ached from horn to hoof. There was something that felt like a numb horn pointing in his side. "You've looked better, Golden Blood." A familiar, wonderful, intelligent voice said calmly from the doorway. My host looked slowly over at the majestic sight of Princess Luna standing in the doorway, and his lips curled with a reactive smile. "Your Majesty, my apologies for not rising, but I'm afraid I'm a bit indisposed," he said with a soft, wry humor. That's all right. I've only been the ruler for 3 days, and I've already had enough bowing, scraping, and Your Majesties to last me a lifetime," she said as she trotted before him and levitated a pillow, sitting neatly upon it. "I was told you gave quite a speech. Hovington Rises? Very catchy. Particularly when you've kept giving it when you kept giving it even when you were bleeding out particularly when you kept giving it even when you're bleeding out half your orifices." Oh. There's like, you have thousands of orifices on your body. Tens of thousands. Hundreds of thousands. Ow! How is he not bled dry? She reached over and brushed his mane from his eyes. "Does it hurt?" "Not at all. I suspect the Zira's poison burned away all the nerve endings. Painkillers take care of the rest," he lied boldly, and from the sympathy in her eyes, it was clear she didn't believe him. But they could both pretend and not think about it. "So, to what do I owe the honor?" "I want to talk about Little Horn." I felt Golden Blood deflate a little, collapsing against the mattress. "Forgive me, Your Majesty. It's not something I can discuss. You were the only survivor, Golden Blood. What happened? What really happened? Besides what was in your report. I know you let something out. I can feel it." "It's all there in my memory, Your Majesty. Every bit of horror. Every monstrous moment." He took a breath like a bubbling kettle before he hawked up a wad of pink, and spat it in the basin. It smoked. Dear Luna. Not this Luna, but the God of the Moon in IRL type stuff. "I know. What? Did I just make a squeak?" "I know, but there was still something left out, something unsaid." "So what's really bothering you, Your Majesty?" She took a deep breath and rubbed her eyes. "I'm in charge of the country and a war that is consuming half the world, and everything is a mess, a complete mess. So why tell me? You were right 10 years ago. You were right about what we should have done. Had we just done things differently?" "No one listens to the kids." She shook her head and then looked at him with a firm gaze. I know the mistake Celestia has made, but I'm not sure about how about but what I'm not sure about is how to fix them. We've we're drowning in disorganization and chaos. The entire government was utterly formed around Celestia, and every pony around me seems torn between treating me like her sister with between treating me like my sister with a coat dye job or flinging their hooves into the air and crying doom. Her she closed her he closed his eyes, and I could just barely hear him humming something under his breath. Then he looked at her. You aren't Celestia. She gave him a wry smile. Celestia was such an effective monarch because for thousands of years because for 1,000 years the government formed around her. Every pony could anticipate her wishes, tell her what she needed to hear, do what she needed done. You are not Celestia. The moment the bureaucrats, nobles, and people realize that, the country is lost. You seem to know a lot about politics, Golden Blood, she observed. Most of the books I've read about the subject start and end with Celestia, and the so-called experiments just seem to want me to grant them better favors than Celestia did. Ugh. So-called experts just want me to grant them better favors than Celestia did. I spent a great deal of time in Rome growing up, and I read far more than is healthy. Zebras have a far more robust political system for electing their Caesar, their Kaiser. He said with a groan, as he paused and coughed up that wet, retching noise. She looked down at him and asked softly, "What do you think I should do, Golden Blood?" He paused and coughed another burning glob. What was inside him? You're asking me. Ugh. What you need to do is remake Equestria. She just gave him a dry smile. Oh, is that all? Equestria is still in shock. Between Little Horn and Hoofington, the entire country is in paralysis. When it wears off, it will be too late to act. If you announce a reformation, reorganization, reconstruction, something, it will give ponies a hope in change, confidence in authority, refuge in the knowledge that you are going to act. And the more different it is in appearance from Celestia's government, the better. I see. So anarchy it is then. Oh no. Of course not. And if you wanted anarchy, you wouldn't have accepted the job. He stared at her, and I felt the urge to blink, even though they weren't my eyes. Luna closed her own with a small frown. I will rule. You rule, Luna, you rule. Yeah, you rock. Celestia gave Equestria more than 1,000 years of peace and prosperity. I will do no less. Not good enough, he replied, closing his eyes and tucking the blanket over him. He peeked out over Luna's slapped expression. I wonder what would happen if you legitimately slapped Luna in the face. I think she would kill you. Or have to resist doing so. What? She stammered. If you're trying to run Equestria to soothe your ego and prove you aren't Celestia, then you're going to fail, and fail miserably. Oops, bye. Luna's eyes fell as her confidence melted. And you know it too. No pony wants their lives hanging over on a princess trying to one-up a legacy that's impossible to copy. He broke into another coughing fit. No one's ever said that to me before. Luna muttered, still looking a little shocked. Well, I'm dying, so I have certain liberties. Yeah, you know that. You know, right? And you're dying, you can say whatever you want. What are they gonna do? You're dead anyways. He replied, spitting up another noxious, bloody glob. He took a slow, deep breath. For the right ruler, ponies will give anything and everything they can. They will fight to the death, sacrifice their lives, and walk into fire. We're ponies. It's our nature. So here is my proposal. Beg an armistice and prepare to pay out the nose for peace. And abdicate as well. See what government the ponies come up with, and wash your hooves of it. Otherwise, decide why any pony should bow to a princess that doesn't even know why she should rule, save she's a princess. Luna glared at him coldly, but I could see the uncertainty in her eyes. Our people have suffered for 10 years of this war, in this war. Now it's my chance to make things better, to make these 10 years count for something, to make it all mean something. And I will do anything, and I will do so even if it means my life. Princess may be my title, but I am not going to forfeit my responsibilities and obligation to my people. And I will make things better. I will give the ponies of Equestria the future they deserve, at any cost. At any cost? Could she imagine the cost? Could he? He closed his eyes and then gave a resigned sigh. What you need is a reorganization of form more than substance. You want to stay in charge, but you need a break. You need a break in Celestia's status quo. You'll have to do something she never did. You'll have to share the power, or at least make the appearance of sharing. Share power, but how? Celestia gave the roles and obligations of government. The roles and obligations of government remain the same. Under Celestia, they were executed almost automatically. 1,000 years of political stagnation will do that. Instead, you'll organize them into bureaucracies or groups, a different form with the same function. uh, sorry. He paused as he closed his eyes again. For a moment, I wondered if he just died or something with how still he lay there. You're going to need help. Ponies you can respect, and who respect you. Ponies with skill. Well, I respect you, she said, as he looked at her and I felt his heart beat faster. He's in love with Luna. I just realized that. He's in love with Luna. But why? Aren't I supposed to rule directly? Not even Celestia ruled directly. She ruled through inference and tradition. If she'd had to make every decision like you're trying to do, she'd have been crushed. The government she formed was largely automatic. What you need are bureaus or ministries who can act while you rule. They'll screen a lot of the day-to-day activity, but you'll need a figurehead for them to solidify around. Some pony that can rally the ponies' faith and deflect their criticism. A pony with enough ability to be effective, but selfless enough to lack ambition, and that's not easy. And that will not be easy to find. But Luna was smiling as she stared at the door. Oh, I don't know, Golden Blood. He turned his head to look at a familiar yellow Pegasus with sweeping pink hair. Hello, Fluttershy. Luna said with a calm smile as Fluttershy gaped in stunned silence. As she finished in a squeak, her one visible blue eye peeking adorably from a gap in her pink. Oh, she's so cute! And her pink mane. Fluttershy has been nursing me along, Golden Blood said with a fond smile at Fluttershy. One she returned as she drew up to her forehooves, hiding her mouth behind them as she hovered. Her eyes darted from one to the other as she blushed terribly. Yes, I volunteer at the hospital whenever I have time, she said with a shy smile. I know I can't do much, but I want to help however I can. Luna just gazed at her with a glowing smile. Do you think ponies would rally behind that, Golden Blood? Fluttershy blinked as she looked from one to the other in confusion. I had to agree. It did seem perfect. So why wasn't Goldenblood smiling? He spoke softly, in a near dead rasp. I suppose they would, Your Majesty. I bet Goldenblood has an intelligence score of 10. He knew there was nothing that could be done. Oh no, too much, too much. I'm gonna pause it when my computer stops screaming at me. Thank you, Goldenblood. You've given me a lot to think about. In fact, you may have saved Equestria, she said as she reached down and touched his side. A wash of magic poured through him and gave him a spasm. It felt as if a cooling wave passed through his wet, poisoned lungs. Suddenly he was able to take a deeper breath with only the barest hint of that wet rattle. When the light faded, one second. When the light faded, even Luna looked like the spell had taken quite a bit out of her. And get well soon, Goldenblood. I'm going to need you more than ever with this reformation. She walked to the door, and Fluttershy hovered to his side. Luna gave that clever, intelligent gaze. Fluttershy, is Twilight still in Ponyville? I need to speak with her about an important matter. I think so. We were meeting there this weekend. The yellow Pegasus said, as she rubbed the back of her head with a hoof. Thank you, Fluttershy. I'll see you soon. I think that we'll be seeing much of each other in the near future. It's time for the elements of harmony to save Equestria. It's time for the elements of harmony to save Equestria again. And with that, and with one last passing look back at Goldenblood, she walked from the hospital room. What was that about? Fluttershy said in confusion before she smiled down at Goldenblood. She landed and brushed his golden mane from his face and then started. Why are you crying? Nothing. She simply said I was useful. In a way, that's the greatest compliment one could ever give. You're useful. You have purpose. I'm sorry, I'm just having a mental epiphany. He rasped as softly as he sat up on the bed. Well, let me get you cleaned up and check your burns. Fluttershy? He closed his eyes, but I could feel the slow tears inching over his face. Yes, Goldenblood? I'm so sorry. One second. Coming out of the... Wait. Whoosh. And I'm back. I'm feeling like shit. It's been a few days. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Oh well. Let's get this over with. Coming out of that, I felt as though I were flying through the air. A hiss filling my ears. Still, I couldn't help but remember something Watcher had told me. I know some ponies whose fuck-ups killed millions. I just seen such a fuck-up. Goldenblood had given advice to Luna that she then took and applied to form the ministries. And Goldenblood had been horn deep in it, apparently, and... I blinked as I stared out at the river before me, the water flashing past me, my dangling hooves as I hung off the bow of a seahorse, my back hooves tied to the rail. I screamed, waving my hooves wildly as we flashed across the stormy grey waters. Okay, she's awake now, Glory yelled back, waving her hooves. Get me off this thing, I begged. Oh, Blackjack, you dumbass. Okay, here's a little thing. what would you say her perception value is? I will never go into I will never ever ever go into a memory orb alone when my friends don't know where I am. Ever. Okay? I muttered for the 10th time as Glory and Rampage lay atop me, pinning me to the rear deck above the captain's wheel. Ram- Rampage was definitely getting heavy. Glory thumped her hooves on my head. You better not. We were ready to go 5 minutes after you left, but suddenly we couldn't find you anywhere. Lakune finally magicked up a spell to find you. Then you were out where we could really have used you. Then you were out when we could really have used you, clearing out Huffington Bridge. So, what do you say again? I will never ever go into a memory orb alone when my friends don't know where I am. Ever, I replied with a grumble. Apparently, while I had been in La La Land, the Seahorse had to pass under a bridge that a slew of raiders of Reaper washouts had managed to take over since the boat passed upriver. Unfortunately, they had a missile launcher. I missed out on the fun of teleporting up and wiping most of them out. On the plus side, though, we'd added my store of ammunition and on weapons for and on weapons for resale. Well, Glory finally decided that enough was enough and climbed off me. I shoved Rampage off as I looked around with bruised pride. What pride? I'd been an idiot trying to get into an orb alone in the first place. I knew it. This was just my friends letting me know how much I'd scared them. Aww. You've got good friends, Blackjack. Keep 'em alive. Still, I wish you could have seen it. Luna and Goldenblood coming up with the idea for changing the government, and Luna laying the foundation of the ministries. I mean, I didn't get a lot of the political gobbledygook, but it was still amazing to see. Well, I figured the ministries just happened, Rampage said as he scratched himself. Ew. Like one day Luna asked Twilight and Sparkle and her friends, "Hey, wanna help me run Equestria and blow up the world? It'll be great fun." Lacuna looked over with an unfathomable expression. Well, things have to get started somewhere, don't they? I said with a sigh as I looked at the golden orb. Luna needed to rule, and Goldenblood told her that what she needed to do to get every pony to follow her, and it worked until the war and everything got out of hand. Out of hoof, damn it! So why had he told Fluttershy he was sorry? Why had he seemed more on getting Luna to surrender and abdicating than to actually follow his ideas? And why had he given her advice that at all and only seemed to regret it later? He's too smart for his own good. I think all those ponies were just crazy, I said with a little nod as I put the orb back in my saddlebags. Maybe it'd come in useful later, or maybe Lacune wanted to see it. She hadn't said a word when I offered it to her. I hopped up into the wheelhouse next to Thrush. Hmm. Wait. Oh God! I saw Slenderman. Can't open my eyes. La la da da la da. Oh. I think all those ponies were just crazy, I said with a little nod, as I put the orb in my saddlebags. Maybe I'd come to how did I read that? I hopped into the wheelhouse and sat next to Thrush, who was staring ahead intently. So where are we going, Captain? We're coming up on the fork, she said as she slowed the boat. Dangerous spot here. We'll let the current take us in for now. What makes it dangerous? She gave me a sardonic look. Oh, lots of things. Hoppers, leeches, snags. Ever see a river serpent? River serpent? Captain, I grew up in a stable. I hadn't even seen clouds till 3 weeks ago. I reminded her as I looked ahead. As I looked ahead, we were off the northern tip of the core, and the river had widened to the point where it more resembled a big lake to me. There were buildings rising out of the water, street lamps, signs, and countless smashed boats littered the water like so many toys in a bathtub. We passed by a large barge bleeding rusty rainbows from a mountain of barrels stacked on its deck. Past that, a large sky wagon made a bridge between two apartment buildings, standing like tall, lonely islands. Lonely Island. It's called the Creep. Yeah. Huh? What caused this? P21 asked, covering his nose with a hoof. The water reeked of iron and worse. Balefire bombs? Landslide, the captain said simply, pointing a hoof between the buildings to the north. Used to be a bluff overlooking that river, and the entire slope gave way, blocked half the river. There used to be a lot of water traffic too. All those boats and barges just floated around and got snagged up in the flooded ruins. There's a community, Flotsam, out here, but I think we're going to avoid it unless we have to. She looked at the scummy buildings rising around us. Why is that? One, because I really don't want my boat stolen in the night. Two, because I don't want a security pony to ride out and try to save the poor fishers. And three, because they have explosives in the water, and I don't want to get blown up if you get a shooty look. A shooty look. Again with the shooty look. Again with the shooty look. Welcome to Shitty Walk. You want some shitty shrimp? Fair enough, I admitted, curious about Flotsam and also curious about what happened in Riverside. Thrush separated watches, putting one of my friends with one of her crew. Oh, my balls. Sorry. Stupid pants. We found a building with an intact roof and carefully pulled through a fallen wall. Oil can got out a bucket and put it in a few pieces of wood. And Thrush ignited it with a spell. It must be so nice not to be a one-trick unicorn. I mean, I want your body. In the fire, she stuck a length of metal that she propped up against the bulkhead near the middle of the boat. What's that for? Leeches. Don't shoot it if you see one. Just give it a few stabs till it goes back in the water. If you see something that looks like a big frog, shoot that if you have to. If you see two really big eyes and a mouth the size of a boat, do every pony a favor and keep quiet so we can die peacefully in our sleep. She said with a wink. You watch the front of the boat. I'll watch the back. She levitated an egg timer, cranked it for 2 hours, and set it back against the frame as the rest went below and closed the hatches. Thrush and I wrapped ourselves in blankets as a veritable cloud of insects seemed to rise from the water and seek out every uncovered inch of pony flesh. The smoke from the fire and the bucket seemed to keep them away a little bit, but I was smacking my hide raw with magic, trying to swat them all. Thrush didn't seem bothered with them. So Thrush, why'd you say you killed your dad? I asked as I looked at the dark walls of our shelter. Glad my eyes could peer through the shadows. Boy, you sure know how to slide into a conversation topic, don't you? Thrush said after a moment. We were in the Servine Isles trying to find a new water jet talisman for the seahorse. We snuck into a pirate camp. Pirates? I glanced at her hat with a little smirk. Raiders on water, only not as nice. Pirates ought to keep mirrors around for proper raping. drawn out for over a few weeks before killing you. Anywho, we got the talisman, but there were a whole slew of slaves as well. I wanted to free them, but 12 ponies sneaking through the jungle makes a lot more noise than just two. They came after us. Dad got injured and told me to take it. Get the hell out of there, and make sure every pony knew who he died of being a big damn hero. I took the talisman and abandoned him. Heard the shots, and then him screaming. Got back to the seahorse, sailed away. She pulled out my bottle of whiskey. Hey! I checked my saddlebags, and sure enough, it was gone. It was gone! I gave her a sharp look, but from the distant stare on her face, I couldn't exactly blame her. So, some regrets, I take it? Every damn day. She replied with a mirthless smile. What gets me the most, though, is that I play it over and over, and no matter what I try, and no matter how I try and look at it, it was my choice that killed him. If we just left him locked up, he'd still be drinking and ranching all across the ocean. She passed me the bottle, and I took a pull, smacking at the biting bugs with a hoof. How about you? Regrets? She asked as she stoked the fire in the bucket. Regrets? A few. One big one. Broke into a sealed-off section in the Florishized Medical Center. There were a bunch of colts and fillies kept in some kind of stasis. They'd been trapped like that for centuries, dying of diseases and injuries that couldn't be treated. They'd gotten control of the maintenance robots and killed the nurses, skinned them, killed whoever entered that part of the hospital. We severed their connection to the robots. Then I had to choose whether to pull the plug or leave them trapped like that. You pulled the plug, didn't you? She said with a smile. I nodded and then sighed. Yeah, that's what I figured, because that's the hard choice. Leave them locked up, tell yourself somebody else will take care of it. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. The fact is, sometimes there is no right choice. You're damned either way. The whole world is like that. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. I listened to the rain falling on the gurgling water outside. So what do you do? She gave a dry laugh, saying, "Fuck it," and go living on either way. Cause part of living is being damned, and the only way to get out of it is to stop living. I thought about the priest and the crusaders, bottle cap and dusty trails, and even Caprice in her sick way. Yeah, each of them had screwed up somehow, but they kept going. On. Was goodness just an illusion? Virtue just the best way we could muddle through? Virtue. What was my virtue? Why did a not smart pony like myself, have to think about these things? I just wanted to be better than the wasteland around me. I wanted to leave ponies better for my helping them. I seemed to just sorry, got a frog in my throat. Oops, got a frog in my throat. No, I'd helped Riverside, hadn't I? And Chapel, though by accident. I'd keep helping if I could. I'd found out where EC-1101 was supposed to go, and turned Hoofington around in the process. I could do it. I had to. If I couldn't, then I'd be really and truly damned. The atrium. Oh wait, no. I was staring out at the front of the boat when I noticed it. A strange black mark in my mutant night vision, like a blob of night creeping along the edge of the boat towards me. Somehow I couldn't move or think as that shapeless mass undulated closer and closer to my hooves. It was like a black, shiny, pony-sized thing crawling towards me for succor. The mass of darkness was a thing for my nightmares. As I stared up, and I stared as the pointed, tapered end of it lifted and opened. Dozens, perhaps hundreds of hooked teeth glistened as it oozed its saliva around the tip. I stared, wondering if my brain had truly snapped for good. Then the glowing tip of the iron floated past my head and pressed into the maw with a sizzle and an iron reek. The blob hissed and writhed as it fell back into the water, into the river with a soft splash. Huh. Usually leeches are bigger than that, she said in my ear before returning to her iron bars to the fire bucket. Leeches. It went on my mental list of things to hate about Huffington. Then it was underlined, circled, and had stars put around it. The atrium of 99 was the heart of social life in the stable. Ponies came into the open space to discuss their jobs and the few recreational activities various ponies organized. The stable picnic allowed a few dozen mares to gather, spread out blankets on the meadow floor, eat some recycled chips, and pretend that we were all on the surface rather than our current situation. I didn't think about Daisy's mom. No pony did. She was by far the largest mare in the stable and in charge of the second shift. Which put her right behind Mom on the pecking order. She could be nice, but without warning, she could shift straight into vicious little comments that could become painful beatings or kickings with the slightest provocation. So it helped a great deal that I am such an idiot when I tried to run up to her and told the biggest, scariest mare in the stable, "Petunia, I'm placing you under arrest for beating up Daisy. Please come with me to security for processing." Mom, sitting right behind her, went very still. "What the fuck is this, Gin Rummy? You put your bra up to this as a joke," Petunia said as she slowly chewed on a gray fungal chip. A chip named Go Fish, no doubt. "Go Fish? What are you doing?" She muttered. "What are you doing?" she muttered in horror. "Being security," I said firmly, pointing a hoof at Petunia. "She beats up Daisy. She cuts her, too." "Fish, go back to our quarters, please," Mom said firmly as she rose and escorted me from the atrium. When we were out of sight, she rolled on me. "Go Fish! How could you say such a thing?" "'Cause she does, Mama," I insisted, stomping up my hoof as I looked up at her. "Daisy comes to school all bruised and cut up. Petunia's the only one who can be doing it. Daisy hadn't cut up her own flanks, can she? Daisy can't cut up her own flanks, can she?" Mom looked up at me steadily, closing her eyes and sighed as she shook her head. Without another word, she led me to Daisy's apartment and opened the door. Daisy looked up at us in shock, wiping tears from her eyes. Mom looked at her. "Daisy, Go Fish made a very important accusation just now." Daisy stared at me in horror as Mother asked slowly, "Does your mother hurt you in any way? Kick you? Cut you?" Ugh. Fucking hate this kind of shit. And Daisy just bowed her head. "No, ma'am. I get in accidents a lot. And fights." "I see," my mother said in resignation. "And you know to report it if she does." A slow, lethargic nod. "Daisy, tell her! Tell her what she does to you!" But Daisy just gave me a chilling look. I'd gone from her friend to something else entirely. Something past what duct tape was. This was all going very horribly wrong. "Let me save you. That's what security ponies do." "That's enough, Go Fish. Let's go." You'll have to write you'll have to write an apology to Petunia. Fuck. My blood boils so bad when I read about that stuff. Gah. I woke up to the creaking rock of the boat, and the sound of P-21 breathing nearby, and some pony else. I glanced back up at the side of Lacune with her glowing horn touching mine, my eyes going wide. You have interesting dreams, Blackjack. You can read my mind? I thought at her, trying not to think of a slew of expletives to add to that. Like this? Yes. And why are you reading my mind? Why are you reading my mind? You have interesting dreams, she replied with a tone of amusement. And this way we do not wake the others. I am not okay with this. I thought back at her. Have you done this with the others? Wouldn't you? If you desire to see, I desire to see if you meant me any harm. And what about the other way around? She followed up with a simple, I'm sorry you can't trust me yet. Considering what she'd just done, the statement was a little more ironic. It was more than a little ironic. Well, the telepathy thing is freaky and sneaky. But you know we don't want to hurt you, right? Your blue friend does. He wants to hurt all of us. And he wants to help all of us. I cannot imagine a more conflicted male. I sighed. P-21 still wasn't over everything I'd done to him. When I heard a pony, I left scars. Deep ones. Just like Daisy. What happened to your friend in the stable? There was just one door with a faulty electric motor. She let her mom in there, brought the door down over on her head. She said it was an accident. I never went near that door again. I never knew if she was inside, waiting to crush my head like a grape. She took her mom's position, and that was that. Do me a favor. All of us a favor. Stay out of our heads, I thought as I looked up at her. Of course. Good night, she said as she pulled her horn away from mine with a parting, sleep tight. Yeah, sleep. That wasn't happening. One moment. In the morning, I found Glory shaking, holding one of the cold metal rods as if it was a magic wand to protect her. P-21 was as far from the water as he could get, and Rampage was roasting a chunk of leech over the coals in the fire before laying in. What? It's good, she protested as she chewed on the rubbery flesh. Another day and she'd be at her adult weight. The seahorse crept out into the flow, the morning glow barely starting to illuminate the clouds to the east. Everything was coated in a sickly sheen of black mold and rotten fungus. Not true growth, but the only slime that could spread in Hoofington's enervation fields and tainted waters. Now that we were moving, I turned on the radio, hoping to hear more about the stable dweller and things around Hoofington. About an hour after I turned it on, the familiar voice of DJ Pond3 addressed the Hoofington region. And to all my listeners out east, I'm afraid there are some ugly times. A veritable army of raiders has popped up in the north. They've hit every caravan and village from Toll to Megamart. These raiders aren't the normal half-starved psychopaths that you're used to. They're healthy, they're organized, and they're eating every pony they can get their hooves on. So who is responding to this menace? Well, not the Reapers. No, they have their hooves full, trying to harass river traffic and seeing who is the most badass pony in Equestria. It's not the Steel Rangers. Oh no, if they don't interfere with locals, and they're busy stockpiling every bullet and missile they can get their hooves on. And it's not the volunteer corps either. Come on, Enclave. If you really want to help, why do you have to be so impotent? So incompetent? I'm not saying you're not trying, but is this the best you can do? Unless one of these three powers wants to pony up, things are going to get pretty brutal pretty fast. Otherwise, you'll have to cross our hooves and hope security can do something about it. Because once they strip Hoofington, it's just a hop, skip, and a jump to Manhattan. So move your little rump if you can, security. Folks need you more than ever. More than ever. Thrush looked at me with a curious smile. Well, you've got an interesting time ahead of you. My mane itched like mad from all the humidity off the river, and I scowled as I looked out at the slimy buildings and bobbing ruins, floating ruined floating boats and barges. Where the heck are they all coming from? I cleared out Withers and Pony Joe's. West Side's always been lousy with raiders. East side of the river, there's too many ponies with really big guns for them to build up past small groups. But in the western half, ponies are exposed and fair game. Reapers don't keep their numbers down unless they get annoying. Heck, half the bandits and raiders in Hoofington want to join up with the Reapers. Thrush slowed and gave a barge covered in giant frogs a wide berth. My guess is an entire village ran out of food and went raider. Not sure who it could be though. There's a lot of little squatter villages between here and there. In other news, more tragedy in the hoof as I've confirmed that the village of Riverside has gone silent. There's no activity in the community at all. No bodies either. Whether the raiders got that far south or something else happened is unclear, but the entire town has been hit. Hopefully survivors make it to safety, and are able to tell us what the heck happened. And I really wish I could be there, and I really wish I could end there, Hoofites. But if you're in the south, keep your eyes open for stripes. There's been reportings of Zebra cyber teams working along the Lunar Space Center in Black Pony Mountain targeting ghouls, society farms, and even taking a few shots at the skyport. Please take note. This seems to be only a small group or tribe, and don't take it as an excuse to butcher every zebra from Glyphmark to Rome, people. And while normally I would nip down for some cheese and wine at the news of Paradise getting its just rewards, I'm afraid I can't. It looks like Red Eye put his hooves down and is taking control of the slave market directly. So expect your local slavers to be really interested in grabbing you, your loved ones, and any pony else they can, because Red Eye wants them all. No word on what happened to Ursery, but it's to my grudging regret to report that Redbeard was impaled on his own radio tower. Red Eye. It's called Temperance. Look it up. I tell you to look up restraint, but then you get all too hung up in collars and chains. And that's the news from around Hoofington. I know things are always tough, but hang in there. If we don't help each other, who will? I sat down hard. Riverside's gone? What happened? Had rovers decided that ponies couldn't be trusted, couldn't be traded with and murdered the survivors? Had Riverside gone and invaded en masse and after we cleared out the traps before Rover could replace them? Or were there other raiders we'd missed that wiped them both out? I thought of Fifi and Granny Fishy. What had become of them? Damn it! Why did this keep happening? Still, Paradise taken over by Red Eye? I doubted the bounty on my head still existed. I really would be glad to stop running across Zodiacs and desperate ponies. We needed to put in we needed to put in at Flotsam for an hour, Thrush announced with a sigh. More to her crew than us. Anchors owes me a barrel of tar and at least a case of spark batteries. She looked at us. I'm invoking Rule 1. You go wandering around Flotsam and I'm leaving you there. This isn't Riverside. Half the ponies there will shoot you in the back to claim they found you in the river. The other half will shoot them in the back. Just wait here. Tar Boots and I will be back straight away. I blinked. Why was every pony looking at me? What? Skimming along the water, we approached and looked what looked like just another log jam of wrecked barges and ships, except these seemed even more mangled and twisted. It wasn't until I got closer that it became clear that these weren't an accidental mashing. Two barges had been welded together into some immense platform, and dozens of cargo containers had been converted into rusty shacks. 4 large cranes trailed in the river, and there were countless nets and smaller cables dangling in the water as well. As we pulled close, one of the nearest cranes lifted a massive metal claw, spraying water and mud, and dumped the entire mass onto an open deck. The claw moved away, and a half dozen ponies began to pick through the sludge for anything of value. I wasn't sure it sure didn't seem like a very good deal, but I saw him going immediately for yellow milk boxes, ammo crates, and any remotely valuable pieces of scrap. What a life. So much more to go. You know, I keep saying this is the final part, but no. This is an hour long. Or an hour or so. Oh, nearly an hour. It can go a little longer. We pulled up, and immediately a dozen ponies looked at us with blatant, speculant, and sharp calculating stares. I just stood on the roof of the wheelhouse, and looked back with Torres's rifle beside me, giving them my own baleful stare in return. Eventually, the group mostly dispersed, but there were always eyes on the boat. 5 minutes, no exploring. Thrush warned me as she and Tarboots hopped off and trotted towards the largest crane. Every pony acts like I can't control myself, I muttered as I walked along the trail, looking out at the filthy, muddy ponies. Not just filthy. Half the ponies looked deformed. I looked at were deformed. A bent horn here, a twisted hoof there. Somehow grotesque tumors sprouting from their sides. What happened to all of them? Chloe asked. Taint, Olkin replied simply. It's in the water. There's nothing to eat but things that live in the water. They absorb the taint, and it gets transferred to any pony who eats them. All of us glanced back at Rampage. She blinked. What? I just got disintegrated. If Tank is still messing with me after that, then find me a big barrel of stuff and we'll see if I can die from it. She's so eager to die. In this case, that's a good thing. She's lived far too long. What doctor? She had a point. I suppose if she got too mutated, she could just walk to the core and come back fine. Then there was the sounds of yelling and screaming. A Colt had apparently found a sealed gun case and had pulled it free from the mass. A larger, scraggly mare was taking issue with his find and lifted her hooves to beat him as he hugged it for dear life. Okay, not exploring, I said as I rose. Just going to kick some ass. You can't, Sibika said as she grabbed my hoof. Oaken added gravely. You just make yourself free game too. You just make yourself free game. And us too. I gritted my teeth in frustration. Then there was a jerk that made the whole boat rock as I blinked and looked around for the source. Rampage was gone. She landed Whoa, she's about to go badass here. Go Rampage. Go Rampage. She landed like a candy cane striped meteor on the back of the mare, knocking her flat on the deck beside the terrified colt. Aggressive assault on a minor, she yelled as she cupped the back of the mare's head in her hooves and slammed her face into the neck. Premeditated full abuse. She slammed again, resisting arrest. A third smash and finally made the mare spasm, her face covered in blood, as Rampage stood there and snarled at the crowd. Who feels like being an accessory? Apparently they all did. Rusty spars of steel, hooked poles, jagged blades, and baseball bats materialized in the crowd around her. I stared as I watched her cutie mark swirl into that strange zebra glyph as she rose on her back hooves. They surged en masse, but with a hop, she jumped clear over the ledge. Then she was on one pony wrecking. Then she was a one pony wrecking machine. Her hooves sticking to joints, ribs, and necks of her enemies. I'd seen this kind of fighting before, in static pictures of fighting techniques. These moves were the light side of the fallen Caesar technique, fighting with restraint rather than to kill. And she could kill with a tilt of her hooves from a flat point, from flat to point, just like that. And her hooves were going to go through enemies rather than bruising or spraying joints. Fuck. Her red stripes seemed particularly brilliant as she moved through them like an avalanche. Ponies on the crane were just rushing out now with high-powered rifles. But any fight that was left found itself sprawled across the deck. Oh shit! Just like that, any pony who had a problem with the Rampage left rather than face her glare. Oh fuck! The colt had released the fallen gun case and now shook the fallen mare. Mama, mama! I saw his skull forming like it was rising from the depths. Saw it smile on her lips. Fuck no. One shot fired, passing under her ear. The hollow point tearing off half her face as it excited. Fielding the rifle, I advanced as she fell, keeping the barrel on her. When she regenerated, I fired again, and again. The entire village stared in shock as I repeatedly blew her brains out. Will someone get this kid and his mom out of here? I shouted, and then fired as she started to rise. I did not want to deal with the murderous pony using fallen Caesar style on me. Some ponies got their wits together enough to drag both the kid and mother out of sight. Some other scumbag snagged the gun case. I hoped it was loaded with armed grenades. Finally, we were alone in the center of the large area of no pony wanting to look at the crazy mares. Rampage just lay there, and I watched as the skull seemed to dissolve into a swirl. Thanks. Some cunt hit a kid. She slapped the kid with her cunt. Oh my god. Follow me, miss. I need an adult. Run! Thanks, she muttered as she sat up and looked at the red and gray smears across the rusty deck. Whoa. What'd I do? Rampage. As your namesake, yeah, bitch! And thank goodness without her armor. Do you remember? Some cunt hit a kid and I think I was going to arrest her? She blinked at me owlishly before nodding. Yeah, I think that was it. Then it all got fuzzier and fuzzier. Freeze! Don't fucking move! Two unicorns shouted as they pointed rifles at both of us. No point to disrupt salvage operations in Flotsam. I'm sorry, but I just realized I had a little bit. It's funny. So Rampage being Rampage, it's awesome. Rampage just looked at one of them and leaned forward to press her forehead against the barrel of her gun. What? What? You think your gun can drop me when hers couldn't? Go on. Try. And then, when you run out of bullets, I'll fuck you with the butt of your own gun. Damn, Rampage. I'm glad she's on the good side. Okay, that was a little more disturbing than I anticipated. I put on my best cocky as fuck grin. Look, fight's done. See you're injured. Be glad they're not corpses. And let's forget about all this little disruption. The two looked at Rampage and then at each other. The striped earth pony kissed at the one pressing her rifle to her head. Finally, the pair backed away. Just get the fuck out of Flotsam. Excuse me. Sorry. They said lamely. They finished lamely and as they backed away. Gladly. We tried back towards the seahorse. I'd seen all I wanted to of this place. Then I paused as I saw a pony storing junk. My eyes were drawn to a slim black case, the length of my fetlock, next to a heap of bent sporks, cracked Ministry of Awesome coffee mugs, and battered plates. The bug pretended I was invisible as I pulled it out with my magic. Where'd you get this? He looked at me. Finally, then at the case. He lifted a hoof, and I stared at the tentacles that wiggled at the end of his limbs. Ministry of Awesome Sky Carriage last year. Good salvage. You like it? 10 caps, I said, trying not to shudder as his tongue slipped out. It looked like a great pipe. Tube cock! He seemed to struggle for something to haggle over. Charity would have owned him. It's very, black and shiny. 50 caps. I looked at him flatly. 10, and I'll throw in 2 cans of cram. His eyes lit up. Done. We got back to the boat, and I touched the sleek black case. There was a soft click, and it opened in my hooves. Inside gleamed the massive magical shell, and a folded up note. Rainbow Dash, you see anything like this before? That nutjob Tryinghammer whipped it up. Does it have anything to do with the work he did for you? I carefully slipped the silver bullet into my backpack. 10 minutes later, Thrush returned. So with the oil can. So, did she leave the boat? Sure. Oil can said with a wide grin. Tarboot started to grin, but not to explore or help any pony. Her friend decided to administer a little law enforcement, and she jumped in to haul her back in. Then Oil Can looked at me with a disturbed little smile. After shooting her in the head, repeatedly. It takes a lot to get my attention, Rampage replied. The pair looked at each other. Huh. Well, I bet she'd leave to help some pony. You bet she'd explore. Well, can't she'd explore. She'd wander off being bored. Damn. I guess none of us won. None of us win. They took bets. What the fuck? Wait, you bet I leave the boat anyway after telling me not to? I said sharply, feeling slightly hurt. Of course we did, she said as Tarboots passed the box to Oil Can. Her lips split in a grin. You don't think I'd stay put? You don't think I'd stay put if some pony told me not to, do you? I wanted to cry. I tried to be good and stay put. I had. Was I really that predictable? From the smirks, yes. Yes, I was. We were leaving Flotsam and the fork behind, heading north. I admit, I was glad to be putting some distance between me and the core. The east side of the city was full of industrial ruins rather than residential. A number of huge rusting tanks and containers rose from the crumbling buildings like fungus. Ew, I hate fungus. Like the west side, most of the factories bore black jar marks from the intense flames. Boom! Ink rose over the largest container, spelled out on the smokestacks that looked like sticks of dynamite. I can only imagine how. Ugh. I can only imagine that fire went up when the city went up. Oh yeah, I bet it did. Blackjack, I bet it did. Well, my eyes are watering for some reason. Probably because I've been recording for over an hour, and I'm still going. The river was carrying us north towards a gap between two hills, connected by a concrete arch. Okay, if we can make it past Zenith Bridge, we should be okay. Thrush said as she looked up at the structure. And there's a problem with that, there's a problem with that, isn't there? I asked as I looked through the binoculars. Both sides of the bridge had been fortified with trailers, slabs of concrete, and sandbags. On one side was a black pony skull on a red flag. The other side's flag was a half apple with an inlay of 3 magical sparks, ringed by a gear, held by crescent-shaped wings, and overlaid by a sword of war with a mouth brace hilt. The Reapers and the Steel Rangers both contest the bridge, and neither side is short on ammo that they won't take. And neither side is short on ammo that they won't take shots at us down here. It can get kind of hairy sometimes, since both sides have missiles. She sighed. Usually we pass by night, but that's 8 hours from now. So, I rubbed my chin. Just speaking hypothetically here, if something exploded on the Reaper's side, they'd be more inclined to shoot at the Rangers than us, right? Oh, Blackjack. Thrush nodded with a smile. Yeah, we've done that before, but we don't have any missiles. She looked again and scowled. Shit, they spotted us. Probably waiting for us to get in range now. They were looking at us and each other. Maybe that meant they wouldn't be looking up. Fuck, just stop stuttering. Okay, I'm gonna try something. It's a bit drastic, but it should work. I looked at Glory. Thrush looked at Glory. She gave a nervous little smile. What? Why are you both smiling at me like that? 5 minutes later, the seahorse barreled past the bridge as Gatling guns hummed. Missiles exploded, and grenades popped in rapid-fire succession. And to think, all that was due to one grenade dropped by one Pegasus. Only one missile streaked down at us, but we powered past it as it blasted a pillar of foamy water behind us. 2 minutes later, we were clear of the Reapers and Rangers. We were clear of the Reapers. We were clear, and the Reapers and Rangers were still busying themselves with pounding away at each other. Glory fluttered to the deck, looking back. Oh, I hope no pony gets hurt. Given that they were both using missiles, I wasn't counting on it. Look at it this way. They can stop fighting at any time they like, Thrush said with a grin as we powered down the river to the north. From the rattling of Gatling guns and boom of missiles, that wasn't going to be any time soon. So how do you all like my new silky voice? Toll was the last bridge over crossing the river, much lower than the zenith span. It had a section that rotated in the middle to allow ships to pass on either side. The center span held the village nestled right on top of the powerful drives that moved the bridge. Fortunately, it was open, and the seahorses powered past it with a wave at the scowling ponies, whom I assumed did not like getting cheated out of a payment. The bridge past the turnstile to the west showed recent battle though, and some of the quarries were still smoking. With the last obstacle out of our way, we powered down into the last mile of the river and into the sea. I'd never seen the sea before. Never imagined it. Never could imagine it. Not even from the little grey pictures and books I was too bored to pay attention to. A great leaden sheet of rolling water stretched as far as the eye could see, half of it obscured by a port to the east. But my eyes stared out further and further till my gaze reached the horizon. Far off, I could see strips of blue. Suddenly, I didn't want to stop. I wanted to ask Thrush to continue out into that great open emptiness and get away from the nightmare that was Hoofington. I wanted to leave it all behind, for good. Cards shuffled in my mind, and I let out a sigh as I looked to the west at the large hills over the sea. I couldn't go, no matter how much I wanted it. And it didn't matter if I wanted to go somewhere else. Thrush's father had been lost to pirates. The wasteland was more than just Equestria. It was the entire world. There was no getting away from it. "What's that?" P-21 asked as he pointed out east towards the largest damn ship I could have ever imagined. It was tied up to a pier, but listed to the side somewhat. It had turrets, mounting the biggest damn guns I could ever imagine. They looked longer than the Seahorse. Her Majesty's ship Celestia. They called it a battleship. Guess what it was for? Thrush said with a snort. "It's enormous!" P-21 gushed. "The HMS Luna was bigger," Thrush said, as she pointed at the darker patch in the middle of the harbor, above the rusting tower of metal. Took a direct hit from a balefire bomb, and still took almost a century to completely sink. Celestia is now the local headquarters of the Steel Rangers. "What's their story? I get they have power armor, but why are they in Hoofington?" I asked with a small frown. "Well, back in the last years of the war, Applejack designed magic power armor. Soldiers that were trained to use it became an elite group. When Equestria went boom, they buried themselves in bunkers and stables and waited it out. About 30 or 40 years ago, they crawled out of their base in Manhattan and started to spread. They've got some sort of edict to protect the MWT technology. And since ponies aren't MWT tech, we can go fuck ourselves. 20 years or so ago, they came down to Hoofington. I guess Elder Crunchy Carrots took one look at the Celestia and orgasmed. Just splort all over the place. If they could get the guns to work, they could take over the city. If they could get that damn thing seaworthy. Hell, I don't think any place within 20 miles of the sea could be beyond their control. Could they? I couldn't imagine those enormous guns firing. How big were the actual shells? If they could fire for miles, even the Hoofington defense might not be enough. They could batter down the wall, and the city would be theirs, except for the innovation suits. But what if their suits blocked it? Oh, my main did not like that idea at all. No idea. I think Crunchy Carrots just wants to make it work. Steel Rain, though, he's definitely of the opinion that the technology is meant to be used. She sighed and shrugged. They're mostly bottled up in the Ironmare base. I don't have much dealings with them, since the Seahorse's engines probably pretty high on the list of tech to confiscate. I don't plan on finding out just how high anytime soon. The seahorse turned away from the Celestia towards the west side of the bay. There the land rose in high gray and brown hills. I looked back at the gray waves and the crash-piled boats that had been jumbled together or half sunk in the harbor. From the depths of the sunken HMS Luna, I could see the telltale rainbow glow of magical radiation. Even the sea, as vast and wide as it appeared, hadn't escaped war. Nothing had. I'll drop you off at the boardwalk, unless you've got a sudden outbreak of sanity and want to come with us to Friendship City. Thrush grinned widely. Oh, it's a great place. There's this bar run by the fattest mayor you could imagine, but her swill will get you messed up faster than you can spit. I seem to have gone too far. Where was I? Damn it. Oh yes, here we are. Pretty sure she cut it with antifreeze. I knew she didn't want us to split up. We were a lot alike. But she had her boat and her crew. I had my... whatever it was. Quest? Mission? Brain damage? Oh, tempting. I normally never pass up liquor that makes me blind. But I've got a long overdue appointment back home. Ahead, we were approaching something like a canal set on some long wooden piers. A huge Ferris wheel bearing the rusted face of Pinkie Pie grinned out at the harbor with an impudent little wink, while a wooden roller coaster leaned precariously out over the water. Thrush carefully maneuvered the seahorse into a rotten stair at the end of the pier. It was rickety, but we were able to climb up to the top. My pip-buck pinged softly. Boardwalk appeared in my vision. Take care of yourself, security. I look forward to having another adventure with you in the future. Oh, you will. You too, Captain Thrush. Don't get sunk, I replied, then frowned. Or shot, strangled, raped, disemboweled. ... I'll stay safe, she replied with a laugh. The talisman at her rear of the boat hummed and hissed, and on twin jets of water the seahorse pulled away and set out towards the open sea. I sighed softly, watching her go. You wanted to stay? Lacune said softly. Of course. I mean, she has a life that's exciting and not filled with one messed up nightmare after the next. I checked my rifle and swept it across the boardwalk. Nothing in view, nothing on my EFS. Had I actually gotten lucky twice in 2 days? Carefully, we made our way on down to the pier and into the amusement park. The massive wheel creaked softly in the wind as we passed beneath it. There was an army of raiders operating somewhere around here. Maybe some of them were around Boardwalk. They were, only they were dead. Really, really dead. Some had tied 3 of them to a rail and eaten them alive. Apparently, from all the blood splattered and how the wires used to tie them had nearly cut their hooves off in the struggle. Congratulations. There were ponies in the wasteland more fucked up than even raiders. I just hope we didn't run into them between here and 99. Oh, Blackjack, you have no idea, do you? The path home had an interesting sense of deja vu behind it. Despite the fact we'd run in an entirely different direction, I still kept looking for the farm with flooded fields, or the ruin where we first met Watcher. I was also keeping an eye on my EFS for raiders. We kept coming across signs of them. A bloody Brahmin skull hammered into a tree, a pony stretched over a stump before being eaten. I didn't check that closely, but I couldn't imagine that had been the only thing done to her. The broken soda bottles near her hindquarters were evidence of that. In one clearing, we encountered 2 bucks completely torn to pieces, the remains thrown like garlands over the dead trees and thorny bushes. Even their skulls had been pulverized. The only thing not destroyed were their genitals. The specificness of that carnage made my mane crawl. I didn't like it. These psychopaths were way too close to my home. But I needed to check and make sure it was safe before hunting these fuckers down. Then I spotted it. The mine door was still intact. Even Deus hadn't blown it off its hinges. It seems. Apparently. I picked my way towards it, looking down. The remains of raiders lay in heaps outside the... No, not raiders. Brahmin. I looked towards the door, a dread settling upon me. I couldn't hear the voices of my friends as I stepped through. The short, dark tunnel downwards was filled with the sweet stench of carrion. Blackjack. Down and down I moved, faster and faster, ignoring the shouts of my friends as I raced to the bottom. If the door was open, if the raiders had gotten inside. But no. I gave a sigh of relief that the door was closed and secure. Perhaps they had tried but failed. I smiled as I rested my head against the metal surface. Lifting my pit book, I activated the overmare's override for the front door. There was a mechanical groan, then a hum. Finally, I could see Mom. Midnight. Sleep in my own bed. Play a game with rivets. I was home. A blast of hot, dank air hit me. I'd been outside for so long that the dankness made me gag. I heard shouts from behind me, but I didn't care. I toggled in my mom's tag and was astonished to see that she was in the atrium, right through those doors. I walked to them and squeezed through the gap before the door finished opening. "Hey, every pony, guess who's..." I stared at the severed head of a mare, rotting lavender hide hanging in slats. A striped purple and red mane splattered with dark bits of gore. It was speared on a shorn-off pipe with a pip-buck locked around it and the sign "Traitor" written beneath it. Splayed torsos were nailed onto the walls. Guts and entrails dangled from the overhead rails like streamers. The black-brown stain of blood covered every wall, and from the halls off the stable came a low, mad giggle. A hiss crackled over the speakers, and I heard the overmare's voice. "Welcome home, Blackjack. We miss you." Her mocking giggle rose higher and higher as I began to scream. The Raider army was Stable 99. Footnote: Level up. New perk added. Light trot. You are agile, lucky, and always careful. Or maybe you just mastered the art of self-levitation. Either way, you will never set off landmines or floor-based traps. Note from Somber. Great admiration, joy, and respect to K-Cat for creating FOE, Hines and Brono for spending 9 hours making it decent, and to every pony happy to read it, including myself, even though it drains the life of my soul. It replenishes it as well. Thank you, Samba. Thank you, Bronode. Thank you, Heinz. And most importantly, thank you, K-Cat. Not, not to say thank everyone listening. This has been a hell of a ride. And it's not even halfway done. I can't wait to see how it ends. But that's not neither here nor there, nor now. Good night, every pony. Sleep tight.